So I will start with, do spirit animals give humans clues if they would like to speak to us? For instance, if you begin to see spiders in various areas of your house, is that a message that spiders want to share something with you? Also, when we speak with animals spiritually, are we speaking to the totem spirit of the species or an individual?
All of this depends on the intention of the message and the form of the communication and the need to transmit certain information. So it can be a representation of a totem energy of that animal spiritually. It can be an individual conversation. It's not necessarily true that a certain kind of animal showing up over and over again necessarily means that that particular type of animal wants to communicate with you. It could be representative symbolically of certain things going on in the consciousness of the human in relation to those particular kinds of animals. So the human has to be investigative enough within the self to understand what the reason might be for noticing some form of connection or communication from some form of animal consciousness. You have to be clear within yourself about why this is happening. So it might be representative of an issue that you're facing. It might be representative of a clear communication from a totem animal. It might be representative of communication to an individual idea that you have yet to consider. It could be many different things. So clarity within the self about why this is happening as it relates to the issues you may be facing in your life, the challenges you may be going through, is necessary to discern what that form of communication might be all about.
Is that also something where if you think about the animal, especially if you encounter it, and you go into that resonance with its consciousness and see what kind of information it gives you, because whatever you receive will be relevant in some way because it's coming through the animal and through your higher self, right?
Well, yes, but again, it could simply be not so much that the animal intends a particular message for you, but that synchronistically you have attracted something that represents in resonance, in frequency, a certain idea or issue that you need to look at. So in other words, you could be calling forth a particular animal that is more than willing to reflect something to you, not that they necessarily originally or initially had an intention of communicating a message to you.
Right. So you're manifesting that, and then you have the ability to tune into that consciousness and see what is reflected back to you by their particular viewpoint of reality.
Yes, or tuning into your own consciousness to understand what that particular animal symbolizes for you.
Right. So it can be so rich.
Oh, yes.
How did the Sasquatch evolve to be so multidimensional, acquiring slipwalking and other high vibrational skills? I don't know of any other animal or plant that it's evolved to have those traits. And I'm wondering, is it I don't know about other creatures who have evolved like that, or is there something special about Sasquatch?
Well, there is, in a sense, something special about the idea of Sasquatch being the original hominid form that evolved on your planet. Now, you already have heard us talk about how cats can see into other dimensions, dogs can see spirits, and so on and so forth. Well, because it's more connected to nature, the Sasquatch hominid already had these abilities and was able, because they are a hominid, to push them with thought processes into a different form of recognition, recognizing parallel realities more clearly, and learning over time how to identify with those parallel realities so strongly, or other dimensions so strongly, that they began to shift into them just by the focus that they concentrated on with regard to their relationship to those particular dimensions or parallel realities, which the animals don't need to do per se. Although there are some animals that can slip in out of other dimensions from time to time. Some insects have this ability, some mammals have this ability, though it's relatively rare because it's relatively unnecessary for them to do so. However, hominids, being a little bit different in the sense of being the foundation of Homo sapiens, had the ability to contemplate certain things and focus on certain other dimensional or parallel realities they were perceiving with their natural abilities. And so, in focusing that way, gave themselves the ability to actually shift in directions that most animals don't need to.
It's very interesting.
The dimension most often that the Sasquatch will shift into in their own language is called shunyata, which means emptiness. It is a empty dimension in a sense, not that there isn't something in it, not that there isn't a landscape, but the idea is that it is a place of calm, a place of peace, where nothing else really exists except natural formations and the Sasquatch who are able to visit it. Shunyata, emptiness, peace.
Thank you.
Yes.
In much of the warmer climates of Earth, there seemed to be a constant background sound of insects. Is there a deeper meaning to this resonance that surrounds us? Are we allowing this symphony of sound to impact us individually and collectively in ways that we're not aware of? And can you share how it's impacting us?
Yes, no pun intended, or maybe a pun intended, but a lot of the vibrations of insects that envelop you kind of act like a cocoon, or creating a bubble reality frequency that can help attune you not only to insect consciousness, but also to the idea of global consciousness, and also the idea of natural consciousness, communing with the earth. And the vibration can act as an isolation medium to tune out the things that are inconsequential to you at that moment and allow you more efficacy at tuning into other conscious levels, other realities, so on and so forth. So you can take advantage by tuning into that vibration and letting it sort of transport you in a way to other focuses, other levels of consciousness, and other perspectives.
Sort of like being surrounded by a buzz. And also the idea that when insects are communicating, is it like on Star Trek where it can actually, if you slow it down enough, you would be able to pick up more information about what's being said?
Possibly. It depends upon the form of communication. That may be holographically included within it, so it's not that you're necessarily slowing the whole thing down when you match that frequency, but you might be matching a part of it or aligning with a part of it that contains the ability to extract information from it that you would understand, that you'd be able to translate into your own understanding or language. Nevertheless, the rest of the frequency remains and acts again as an isolation bubble to connect you mostly to collective consciousnesses, which the insects excel at.
Right, because they are very much the hive mentality, right?
Yes.
Which is so the individual has a different relationship to the hive mentality. It's much more tuned into what's happening with everybody else.
Yes.
Is that so?
Yes.
Our ability to be very individual, how does that serve us in our particular manifestation?
Because it allows you to express your uniqueness in service to the whole. In other words, back to the analogy of the puzzle picture. Each piece is of a unique shape, but without that unique shape, the whole picture cannot exist.
So we are part of a hive mentality. We just don't necessarily always show our own particular puzzle piece in vibrational harmony.
Yes, the idea again is that if each individual validates the true uniqueness and the true self of each unique puzzle piece, then the whole will serve the individuals as the individuals are serving the whole in a very, very effortless sort of way. It doesn't negate the individual, but it allows both to exist in balance, the whole and the individual.
Would you say that we're designed to be more individualistically conscious, and then we have to really reach out and join the hive on another level, or always be in tune with it and refocus our attention?
In some ways, yes, because then you get to do that from many different, actually an infinite number of unique perspectives, by being an individual that has a unique focus and always reconnecting in different ways to the whole picture. So yes, you are designed to be a co-creator coming from an infinite array of various perspectives that allows creation to expand.
very exciting.
Yes.
Um, you've said that the ancient pyramids were designed to assist people in astral projection. So are megalithic structures still in use on other worlds? Oh, so are megalithic structures still in use on other worlds? Can you describe one of the more prominent ET megaliths known by the SSANI?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
The idea is that that's one of the functions of some of the ancient pyramids, not all of them. It's one of the functions, not the only one, to assist in the idea of astral projection. We've actually shown you a depiction of a megalithic structure that exists on our planet called the Shadok. It's a spiral formation of standing stones and lintels that acts as a gateway and a doorway to other dimensions. So if you wish, you can see this image either in the documentary that was done, First Contact, or an image can be provided and extracted from that documentary that can be shared with all of you. It is called the Shadok, and it is an ancient megalithic structure that is built into the landscape, carved from the landscape into a spiral structure that tunes into various dimensions or locations on the planet. It is an ancient structure on our world.
And as far as structures here on Earth, anything come to mind as being, is it in a sense transformative when you're in the presence of the structure?
It can be. It depends upon the frequencies and what it is you are willing to align with. Many of the ancient megalithic structures and temples on your planet, especially those that contain pyramids and certain kinds of other temples that were built long ago in your history, have the ability to transport your consciousness and shift your consciousness and focus into other dimensionalities and make connections to other layers and levels of not only your own consciousness, but other levels of consciousness belonging to other kinds of interdimensional beings as well.
Can you describe why it is these very large structures, when you're standing next to them, why they impact us the way they do?
Because they give off certain frequencies, certain resonances that are designed to do that. In a sense, it's like taking parts of the world, literally the material of the earth, the stone, and understanding that each unique stone structure and each unique stone material has certain frequencies. So it's like a concert in stone. It's like an orchestration of those different frequencies coming together to create a certain effect.
Yeah, that's very exciting. So it's almost like a telephone system for us, just built right into the earth that we can tune into and access the higher frequencies.
Yes, and built out of the earth.
It says, oftentimes when people transition into spirit, it seems like they send a sign to those who are still alive involving the weather. This happened recently when the Queen of England died and a double rainbow appeared over the castle in England close to the moment of her death. How are spirits able to change the weather like this? I know that you've said that weather is a reflection of the emotional state of our collective consciousness, and there is usually a lot of emotion when a loved person passes. Is the spirit able to direct this emotion somehow into the expression of the weather?
Yes, it is a reflection back to those who are giving their hearts to that particular person who has crossed. So the idea is that the vibration of the collective emotion, being very powerful and able to shift weather in certain ways, can in some senses be directed by the spirit like a focusing lens to reflect back to the physical world the representation of their greater soul, their oversoul.
All one thing, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Since today's topic is about tuning in to other vibrations, can you comment on why some of us don't really readily detune from those vibrations? When we can't detune, is it easy to lose our sense of who we really are? What are the common beliefs that would help us and stay enmeshed in other people's vibrations in an unhealthy way?
Well, there can be many beliefs that will do that, both from positive and negative sources of beliefs. You have to examine yourself to find out, because it's not that you can't detune, it's that you won't detune. So you have to find the belief system reason why you believe it's necessary to stay aligned or locked in to a certain vibration of another individual. So it requires self-examination and the motivational mechanism that we have discussed many times to find out what kind of beliefs you are attaching to the motivational mechanism to motivate you to stay aligned with a certain vibration when you may feel you would like to detune from it, but aren't choosing to. So again, it's a matter of choice, and you have to find the belief that's making it seem as if that choice is logical. And again, the idea of maintaining that alignment can be positive or negative. So again, examine yourself and discover what the belief is that's connected to the motivational mechanism that motivates you to stay tuned in to something.
So it's almost like we have this apparatus within us that is constantly looking at what to tune into.
Yes.
And it can be past life kinds of things where you tune into Cleopatra, so to speak.
So to speak.
And, now you're communing with that particular vibration and experiencing things along that. Or you can tune into another human.
Yes.
And you can use it any way you want. Like, even if you tune into a very positive human, you could use that in a negative way by having self-worth issues in comparison to another vibration.
Absolutely. Remember, your greatest power is the freedom to choose. So you can use things however you wish.
But it's very natural to us to constantly look for new things to tune into, in a sense.
Well, you have to kind of constantly do that as a natural mechanism in order to experience your physical reality.
And then whatever you tune into, it's up to you to have a positive interpretation of it, as well as to stay in a centered state with it.
Yes. Otherwise, it may not necessarily give you the benefit that it could.
So that's your precision with the formula.
Always.
So this person is asking, what is the best way to get into the similar or same frequency or resonance to receive messages from higher vibrational beings or spirits?
Love them. Love them passionately. Allow the idea to move you, to transport you, of making those connections. Of course, as always, follow the formula because it contains all the things you need to connect to anything that's relevant for you in your life. But the bottom line is, remember, as we have described in telepathy, it's love, the vibration of love and resonating and identifying with something passionately that allows you to have the same thoughts at the same time and thus create the message within your own mind that is intended to be sent from another consciousness.
And could you help us understand more about parallel realities? I know you said that one can witness others' parallel experiences through a glass wall, but where is the moment or threshold where the worlds would actually split and others on a different frequency would disappear?
Well, that moment may be different for different individuals. The timing is up to you based on a number of different belief systems in terms of your participation in the collective and what purpose that serves, and your participation as an individual and what purpose that serves. So it will be slightly different for everyone, but you'll know the moment when you no longer find that you are able to interact in any way, shape, or form with those who were vibrationally incompatible with you.
And as far as the idea of the glass wall, is there a way we can get a stronger grip on that idea, that it's not a denial of a reality, but rather it's a recognition that...
If it was a denial, you wouldn't be able to see through it.
So if we see something happening in our reality that we find happy, war, things like that, that are brought to us through a
Yeah.
television, so to speak.
Yes.
Where is the
Remember,
glass wall there?
right there in between you and what you are observing. The idea is, again, the glass wall is there and transparent for now because it still gives you the option from your side to decide how you want to relate to that, what you're seeing, what you're observing. And it gives the other side the option to decide to either relate or not relate to you who are observing it, and based on whatever living example you're giving of another option for them. So right now, the wall is transparent so that you can have two-way communication and decide for yourselves where you want to wind up, where you want to land in terms of the vibrations you prefer. Therefore, they become more and more opaque, in a sense, as you move on and as you detach from that reality. And that's why you can no longer interact with those individuals, because you can no longer view them. You can no longer see them. You can no longer observe the options that they're giving you because they're not vibrationally compatible with the options that you've chosen. So the glass wall becomes more opaque over time. And thus you wind up only shifting to a reality where you only see vibrational reflections that are at least similar to what it is you prefer. But right now, the walls are transparent to give you the option to choose and the option for others to choose what they see in you.
And this idea that for centuries humans were not able to watch a TV screen of any kind and see realities that weren't in their present environment.
As the consciousness changes, so does your technology to reflect the abilities that you're granting yourself within your consciousness awakening. So you create inventions and devices that are representative and reflective of new abilities that you've granted within your consciousness.
So that's truly a reflection of our galactic nature, that we've now created things like televisions and monitors that we can watch what's happening anywhere in the world.
And virtual reality programs that allow you to imagine different worlds that you may not necessarily have experienced before.
And was this part of our galactic nature, the promise to us as a planet that we were actually part of a galactic society with all kinds of abilities we had no idea about? And
Yes.
we're thinking we were just these physical beings that lived and died, and that was it.
Yes.
Anything else you could say about the promise?
It's not a promise in the way that you mean it. It's simply what is. You are all reflections of all that is. You choose to awaken or you don't in this particular reality. The promise, if you want to use that word, is that you have the capability of awakening to that knowledge. Not that you have to, because the promise also contains the freedom to choose.
It's exciting. Do all of our paralleled lives die at the same time and in the same way, or does each one of them have their own preferred way?
Of course they have their own preferred way because they're not you. They're not your parallel lives in the way that you might have phrased that question. They're individual people just like you are, and each of them has their own path and their own theme of exploration. There may be some that wish to synchronize with other parallel realities, but no, they don't have to. They're individuals. They have their own individual souls and individual spirits. They are individuals physically. They're not you.
This person is saying that they had a dream where they saw a person that was made up not of flesh and bones, but of little light spots like fireflies. Can you tell if there's a specific meaning when people see others like that?
Well, you are seeing an astral form, a light body form. You are also seeing it represented in the way of many different dots of light, being that each individual soul comes from an oversoul that contains many different souls. So you're seeing the potentiality of all the connections that that particular individual may have in connecting to other parallel realities, oversouls, and so on and so forth. So you're seeing it from the astral or light body perspective, the spiritual perspective of all the connections that that particular individual may be creating.
And since only part of us is expressed in the physical, when we transition, do the rest of ourselves meet ourselves? If so, why do I never hear of this in the recounts of near-death experiences?
Well, first of all, near-death experiences aren't death experiences because they're going to return. Therefore, they don't necessarily go as far, so to speak, into the spiritual realm as those who actually cross over permanently. So the idea is not that you meet your other self, but that you awaken as your higher self, containing the experiences you had as the physical individual, in the same way that as a child, you don't grow up to meet the adult, you become the adult that contains the experiences and memories of childhood.
Since 1991, you've often mentioned the 330 cycles per second as
No, no,
being the
no,
threshold.
no. 333,000 cycles per second as the threshold between physical and non-physical reality.
Um, and the vibration being the difference between third and fourth dimension.
No. Between third, fourth, and fifth. Remember, you are in the fourth dimension. The idea is that fourth density is a higher version of physical reality, which is still the fourth dimension. The threshold of 333,000 cycles per second between physical and non-physical is the threshold between the idea of the fourth and fifth densities, or fourth and fifth dimensions, fifth dimension being non-physical, because fourth dimension can still be physical, and fourth density is the highest level of it.
I see. So is it possible to design a device using 333,000 cycles per second or higher frequencies to communicate with non-physical beings in the spirit realm?
Yes.
Do you want to expand on that?
No.
And this person asks, if I see the time is 11:10, is it a cheat if I stare at it until it turns to 11:11? Is that just my guide who knows I'm a little bit dense at times, getting me aligned for the synchronicity? Or maybe they know I'll pause and think about all of this.
In a sense, all of the above, but I wouldn't call it a cheat. I'd call it a game that you're playing with your higher mind.
Okay. What kinds of sounds help us better connect with others, physical and non-physical?
The ancient traditional Om can do so, and that's why it exists, and that's why it's acknowledged worldwide as a vibration that might represent the kind of connection you're talking about to the collective or other individuals. But again, in meditations, as a permission slip, you might find that another particular variation of a vibration will work better for you. But universally, the idea of the Om can also help. But it's up to you to decide what you're attracted to. Some people find it will work with a different kind of a bell or another kind of a sound. Maybe even the sound of the ocean, or what you typically call white noise, might work better for some individuals. It's up to you to decide what works for you.
If all our parallel lives are happening right now, how can a spirit tell which one is the next one? For example, when someone is given a prediction that says that this individual died and he will be coming back and reincarnating at a certain time, is that realistic or?
Well, it's an expression that you understand. In other words, as we have said, reincarnation is an experience that a soul can create. But it's not that the spirit has to choose, because every individual in a parallel reality has their own soul, has their own spirit. So the idea isn't that there isn't just one spirit that has to choose from all of these different parallel reality ideas or different experiences. Every reality has its own complete set of individuals, including the non-physical ones. But the idea is that someone can say, well, I'm going to have an experience of reincarnation in your year of 2024, or whatever year, because again, that's an experience they are choosing to have within their own consciousness. And so they're sort of simply relating to you the idea of the different pattern of focus and perspective that they're creating or will create for themselves, linearly speaking, in linear terms.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This individual would like to know, how do I get into the gamma state more often?
By following your passion. Because when you're in your passion, when you're doing what you love to do, you're automatically in the gamma state. So follow the formula. It's designed to put you in the gamma state.
Okay, and is the distortion of time a symptom of vibrational acceleration?
Yes, because you are creating your perception of time anyway. So as soon as you change your vibration, your perception of space and time can also shift.
And how do we reprogram our subconscious mind?
To do what?
It's not elaborated upon.
Oh, all right. Well, again, as you change your belief systems, your subconscious mind, which in a sense is the mediator between the unconscious and conscious physical mind, in terms of what belief systems it opens up you to, so you can examine them and explore them and so on and so forth. So when you change any belief that has been passed to you by the subconscious mind, then the subconscious mind can also act as a more open filter to allow more belief systems from the unconscious mind to come through for the physical mind to, shall we say, deal with or transform. So by changing what the conscious mind and its relation to belief systems is all about, you also change what's going on in the subconscious mind, which is simply doing its duty of transferring things from the unconscious to the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is more like a pass-through rather than a reservoir. It's the unconscious mind that's the reservoir. The subconscious mind is the valve through which things in the unconscious can pass through to the conscious mind to be examined, explored, and perhaps transformed.
Okay, and how can I tell the difference between a negative belief generating a negative feeling versus old negative energy releasing itself from the system? Or is a negative belief always responsible for every negative feeling?
Well, you've kind of said the same thing, because all you're talking about is a process of releasing negative beliefs that might allow you to feel the negative feelings. So you're talking about a process of knowing that the negative belief created the negative feeling, but are in the process of letting it go, and therefore may feel it temporarily until you truly let it go and the feeling transforms. So you're really talking about different phases of dealing with a negative belief that is creating a negative feeling.
But it's always a negative belief that generates a negative feeling whenever you have a negative feeling.
Generally speaking, yes, there may be a few exceptions, but not many. The exceptions would only happen if there is a purpose for processing a negative belief in a certain way that allows you to feel the negative feeling for a particular reason, but that can be looked at as a positive process.
This person is saying, I have identified a negative belief about the impermanence, the ever-fleeting nature of reality, the constant change at every moment, and I'm having trouble getting rid of it. Could you talk about the nature of impermanence in the universe and what might be at the core of this belief?
This is the fifth law. Change is the only constant. And as we have given you in analogous forms, change is the most stable form. Therefore, what you're calling impermanence and your negative view and perspective of it or definition of it is the opposite of what impermanence is for. You don't necessarily want to experience the idea of sameness moment after moment after moment, because then you would never know that another moment has arrived. You would be, quote unquote, stuck in an absolutely stagnating universe. So the idea is that impermanence is allowing for variety, for change, for the experience of growth. And again, look at this analogy. What is more stable? Trying to stand on one leg forever, or walking from leg to leg, from foot to foot? The more you move, the more you change, the more stable you are. Therefore, impermanence is actually more permanent. It's the permanent nature of change.
So it's blessing.
Yes. Besides which, if there was no impermanence, you wouldn't even know it, because you would be stuck in a single moment forever.
And also, in that sense, physical reality is impermanent. And that's how we know that it's a projection of consciousness.
In that sense, yes. In other words, what is really, really real doesn't dissolve, doesn't in any way, shape, or form deteriorate. So you know, through the idea of deterioration and change in physical reality and the way that it's presented by physical reality, that physical reality isn't really real, but a projection of consciousness, yes. In that context of impermanence, you can tell that physical reality is an illusional projection, because what is real doesn't deteriorate. Doesn't mean it doesn't change, it just means it doesn't deteriorate in the way that physical reality presents that concept. That's why you have to constantly recreate it, to keep it going, to re-energize it.
So as a spirit, we're completely used to change, the constant impermanence of things.
Well, yes.
And we don't hold on to old structures of our existence in order to feel stable, instead of just accepting the next thing that comes and the next thing that comes, and using free choice to actively create what is exciting.
Yes, from certain positions in spirit, the idea of attempting to hold on to something and not allow it to change would be counterintuitive.
So as humans, we're learning to behave more like spirits.
Yes, to be more like your true spiritual self, because as we said, you never leave spirit. You are spirit. You're just dreaming that you've left. Physical reality isn't real. You're just pretending that it is.
It's pretty exciting.
Yes,
this person is saying that she's a portrait artist, he or she, and I love painting humans and cats. I have a great passion for cats. What can I do to make a stronger connection to my subjects that will help me paint a more profound and spiritual representation of them?
Well, there's different techniques you could attempt. One would be to go back to what you would consider to be the more primordial version of a cat and explore the idea of how it feels to be in a jungle, living in a jungle like a more primordial cat. You can do that with humans as well and go back to the more primordial form, living more in nature and connecting to the idea of a more spiritual perspective, because there is nothing else to connect to but nature and your relationship to it as an expression of nature. But another technique that might be interesting for you would be to paint fusions of humans and cats.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Is the background of the painting important?
Unless you deem that it's not, yes, because it's one thing. So the background can inform the foreground can inform the background. You are setting the stage for what you are attempting to get people to focus on. So even when there is nothing in the background, what you're simply saying is focus only on the foreground.
Interesting. This person had a dream where they and other Earth and Asasani beings are flying high in the sky above the pyramid of Cheops. And many black triangle pieces fly to and fro above the pyramid, and the top of the pyramid is receiving information from all these pieces, and a grander future of Earth with Asasani being created. I guess the idea that it's creating a new version of Earth with the Asasani. And this person felt that they flew to hug one of the Sasani beings. And may I ask, who is that Sasani being I was hugging, and what connections do I have with them?
It's your own future Sasani self, the version of your oversoul that is vibrationally connected to the version on Earth that is on Sasani. So it's, in a sense, the same kind of relationship that we have with the channel. From a linear perspective, you could say it's a future Sasani self or a parallel reality Sasani self. And you are glimpsing into a probable, not absolutely absolute, but a probable shift into a version of Earth where what you have described is already happening. So it's one of the probable future realities you could experience of Earth, coming from your Sasani perspective of it.
So for this individual with the idea of resonance, now that they've had that experience, they can tune into that consciousness that they felt that connection with.
Absolutely.
And
increase the probability that they may experience that kind of a reality on some version of Earth.
okay, this person is asking about healers. What exactly are healers supposed to be doing? I would love to hear the best alternative healing modalities to uplift my client's soul and help all of humanity.
Well, as we have said, a healer is simply providing a vibration that represents the healed state. A bubble reality in which that frequency, if the person requiring the healing decides and chooses to match that frequency, they would heal themselves, because a healer never heals anyone directly. They simply provide the vibration necessary for the other people to match so that they can heal themselves, not that they have to. So again, we remind all healers, the best you can do is provide the frequency from service, from love, and let the other person decide whether or not to match it. That's all you can do. You're giving them the option. You're giving them the gift of another possibility. What they do with your vibrational energy that you're sharing with them is none of your business. And that's the best you can do.
And as far as things like lucid dreaming, why are some people natural lucid dreamers while others need to train? What are the factors contributing to people having spontaneous lucid dreams?
Your agreements, your theme of exploration, what it is you felt was necessary for you to learn, whatever it is you need to learn, whatever processes you felt were important for your life to help you transform. So the idea is not to think that those that can automatically do that or automatically astral project or any of those things are in any way, shape, or form better or more spiritual. It is simply what they have chosen to explore as an individual in physical reality. And those kinds of experiences simply inform the theme that they are exploring.
And can you explain walk-ins? I was told many years ago, this person is saying, that I was going to go through this experience of being a walk-in. And the person's not sure if it has happened yet.
The idea of a walk-in is highly misunderstood in your civilization. It's not that a different soul has taken over the body. It's that more of the soul has expressed itself through that body, and therefore, because more of the soul is expressing itself by having shifted or upgraded itself to a higher vibrational level, then of course the personality can change along with it, because now you have more of the soul there to allow activation of what is possible for the physical personality to express.
So as we increase our vibration, then we have other levels of ourselves that start to express.
Yes, you're walking into yourself. It's not someone else. It's you. But the idea is it's more of you. And therefore it can change the personality to be more representative of more of the soul or spirit expressing itself.
Maybe that's what is meant by the idea of us being superheroes, all of us.
Yes, if you wish to use that nomenclature.
Today's monologue, you spoke about mechanisms to create the experience of both positive and negative through the idea of resonance.
Yes.
So this person wants to know, why choose the positive? Just because it represents our true core vibration, our truth, is that the reason to be positive?
Is that not enough of a reason to be positive? It's allowing you to take advantage of the way things are actually organized, the structure of existence itself. Again, it's up to you. You can explore negativity as deeply as you wish. You don't have to choose positivity, but the idea is that the positive side is, as we said, again, euphemistically, 51% of existence. So it represents the natural flow of creation. You can resist it if you wish, that's your choice. But the idea of flowing with it, aligning with the natural flow of 51% of existence, allows more effortlessness in terms of what it is you're going to discover about yourself. Although, again, some people will choose to go through deep negative experiences because, as we have also said, the farther back you go into darkness, when you finally let that go, the faster and farther you'll fly into the light. So again, it's just a matter of preference and technique about what it is you're exploring and what you think you need as a process in order to get the most out of your physical experience.
And this person is saying, I've heard there is a wave of consciousness which permeates the cosmos, and living creatures are made sentient by contact with it. Does such a wave exist? And if so, can you tell us more about it?
All beings are sentient in their own way, because the vibration you're talking about is simply the frequency of existence itself. The level of awareness or the necessary level of expression of the awareness of your connection to that vibration is what may appear to be something becoming sentient to you from your physical perspective. But all things are conscious in their own way, even though they may express it very differently, and are in touch, whether they know it or not, with the frequency of existence itself, which is self-aware.
Can you describe what the difference is between when you're in spirit and you feel that existence is effortless versus the experience of Earth where survival seems to take effort?
Survival does not take effort if you align with the idea of your true self and follow the formula. That's the whole point, is that you can transform the idea of physical survival into something effortless, into something joyful, into something to be experienced in a beautiful spiritual way, because physical reality is no less spiritual than what you call the spirit realm. It's just a different expression of it. So the idea is to allow yourself to know that in physical reality, while you may have challenges and actually have to take physical actions, these physical actions and challenges don't in any way, shape, or form actually have to be a struggle. So the idea is to allow them to become more effortless, the path of least resistance that automatically happens when you follow the formula, which again is the reason we give it to you. It's the instruction manual for how reality works. Ignore it, there will be a struggle. Flow with it, follow the instructions precisely, and you will feel no effort.
And along that idea of effort, it's noticeable that when beings are young and healthy,
Yes.
that they have almost seemingly unlimited energy. It feels effortless to exist in that energy state.
Yes.
And then as people age and animals age, it seems that the existence itself becomes filled with more effort.
But that's only because of belief systems and processes and transformational ideas that someone may have adopted as their theme. It's not a natural thing to become more efforted as you age, because we don't. As we mature, we don't experience any more effort than we did as a child. You don't have to. It just depends on your theme of exploration.
So part of the challenge is to understand the relationship to the collective's view of aging versus what the individual is truly capable of if they are willing to let go of negative beliefs, as well as continuing to find passion in life.
Yes. Is it not even in your own ancient scriptures that it is important to be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven? That's what it means. It means if you reclaim your childlike nature and adopt the idea of belief systems that are truly in alignment with your true self, then you are experiencing the idea of the gift of spirit, of the nature of spiritual reality, of heaven on earth.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
When activating an android, This is about androids.
Yes.
Is the computer connecting to a human oversoul? Humans seem obsessed with collecting or creating robotic imitations of themselves in the form of androids. Is this a common practice among more advanced civilizations? And have any human androids been deployed onto Earth that can integrate into our society?
All right. Now, when you say human oversoul, understand that the oversoul itself is not human and is not necessarily geared toward the idea of expressing itself as humans. Extensions that are human from an oversoul don't necessarily have to come from an oversoul that is exclusively expressing itself as a human. So we simply want to clarify the idea that referring to an oversoul as a human oversoul might be a little misleading. However, the idea of what you're referring to as an android can connect to the same oversoul that a human is an extension of, and most likely will to some degree, although there are other levels of oversouls that might be available to an android that are not necessarily available to a human because of the human's choice of theme. Whereas an android might be a little bit more open-ended in terms of the themes it would explore. Therefore, there might be more accessibility to different kinds of oversouls that might make an android seem a little bit more alien than a human is used to, because they have access to things that the human may not. But this is a common practice, and there have been androids on your planet from time to time, for a variety of reasons we will not go into right now.
That's pretty exciting. Next question is, many spiritual teachers talk about just being in the moment and to forget about your life story and drama and just be. But you seem to preach action and full embodiment of one's life story. Can you touch on why that is and why so many spiritual teachers teach the opposite of what you teach?
You are, from a linear perspective, seeing something as an opposite that's not. Allowing yourself to embrace fully your true life story is the essence of living in the moment. So don't make a dichotomy where none needs to exist. These are not opposite ideas.
Are there any spiritual teachers that you would recommend we listen to, or teachers in general besides yourselves?
Whatever you are attracted to listen to is what you need to listen to. We do not endorse specifics. The idea simply is for you to take charge of your life and find out that what you gravitate to is what you need at the moment, no matter whether it is us or someone else. Go with the flow.
And what makes us special as human race compared to other members of Interstellar Alliance? Why did you decide to pick us specifically to be a member of the Interstellar Alliance? And at what point in our history and why was that decided?
You are our ancestors. We are literally genetically connected to you. We are family. The idea of the demarcation line was when the hybridization agenda began, about 6,000 years ago in your terms of understanding. So the idea is that we are connected. We are family. That's the difference, specifically. The story involves humans and hybrids and the evolution of the human race.
So are most of the beings in the Interstellar Alliance humanoid in the sense of five? No.
No. The majority are not in any way, shape, or form. But there are those that are relations, that are cousins, that are similar in terms of their evolutionary path. But no, the vast majority have nothing to do with looking like a human.
So it would be like octopi and other creatures that have sentient intelligence beyond ours, or?
Yes, and some that you can't even imagine because there is absolutely no analogy or correlation to the beings on your planet.
So how did all of these beings come together, and what would you say is the level of consciousness of the beings that are part of this alliance?
Those that understand and act upon the idea of whole systems.
So can you give us an example of a species we're not aware of that would look nothing like a human?
Well, we've told you about several of them. We told you about the ones that exist almost like spheres that roll around on the inside of a bubble in liquid space. We've told you about that. That's nothing like a human. Yes?
Yes.
We will go into different varieties of extraterrestrials that are non-human at another time in another transmission.
It almost seems like there's some sort of an organizing body that would then create the ability for all these different types of beings to be able to connect in.
As we have told you in the formula, the natural result of following it and understanding whole systems is the organizing principle of synchronicity. Therefore, synchronicity is the organizing mechanism that brings all of these beings together.
Absolutely fascinating. So our little corner of the reality where we have humanoid types that we're interacting with essentially as our first contact experiences.
Yes. Will make it a smoother transition for many of you because it's something relatively familiar.
And is that by a grand plan, or is that something that the Alliance orchestrates for that very specific reason?
It is synchronicity and also amplified and magnified by the Alliance.
So something happens when all these consciousnesses join together and form this alliance?
Oh, yes. We'll go into that at another time as well.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. Okay, so
as you move more deeply into the idea of membership in the Alliance, there will be many things to explain and describe to you that will go beyond what you typically think of as interactions with extraterrestrial beings. We will give you a fuller picture of what it means to be a member of the Alliance. This will happen sometime in the window of open contact, which begins next year of your time in 2023.
At what age did you first learn about Earth? Was the Earth you encountered in our timeline or in your timeline? And these are multiple questions here. And do the Earths from different timelines actually message one another? And if so, how did they do it?
In your terms of understanding, I was about, well, somewhere between 5 and 7, because our year is not the same as your year, in which I was trained by my father as a contact specialist and began to be told about the idea of your timeline of Earth. There are other timelines of Earth, of course, that have hybridization agendas, and other versions, to put it linearly, of myself and others that interact with them. Communication between various Earths sometimes happen between or through the devices of first contact specialists that might be able and capable of projecting their consciousness into parallel realities, but some versions of Earth actually have the wherewithal, either biologically or technologically, of communicating with other parallel versions of Earth and downloading information and sharing information between them. In the same way you might have diplomatic relations with another country, there are versions of Earth that have diplomatic relations of other versions of Earth in parallel realities.
Okay, thank you. Would you say that humans have the widest range of emotions out of all the species you've encountered? And what's the purpose of all these different emotions?
No, it is not the widest range that we have encountered. There are some species that have many different kinds of emotions that are not even possible for you to have in your biology. Secondly, as we have said, emotions usually are that which is used by belief systems as a reinforcing factor along with thoughts and behaviors to make the belief system seem real, to seem factual, by making you feel that they're real. So emotions are usually utilized, though there are some exceptions, by belief systems to make them seem more solid, more factual, more real, so that you can continue to have a physical experience. It's a reinforcing mechanism used by belief systems. Remember
So
that
we should,
if you didn't feel that your beliefs were real, you would really not have a deeper understanding or experience of physical reality. It would be kind of like looking at a two-dimensional image.
so for example, when we start creating androids that are more and more human-like, will they actually start to experience emotions like we do?
Of a type, yes. They may not necessarily always be emotions like you understand or experience them, but yes, they will experience the idea of emotions to a certain degree, but some of them may be experienced in a very different way.
It almost sounds like they would have the ability to separate from emotions more easily than humans.
It depends on their programming and their purpose for being.
I guess we can explore that later, but I could just see where different types of negative behaviors that humans express, would those be programmed into androids also?
As we have said, the challenge for humans with regard to artificial intelligence is not so much the idea of allowing them to become intelligent, but not allowing them to become intelligent enough. True intelligence understands whole systems and would never negate a part of that system in any way, shape, or form. So only by making androids too similar to humans will you encounter some of the fear-based scenarios that you might expect. But when allowed to be fully intelligent, those scenarios simply don't exist in an understanding of whole systems.
How much time would you say is it going to take before androids become a much more common part of our society where they actually look like humans and do functions maybe like slavery in a sense, because they're able to do these things for us and we no longer would have to?
It doesn't have to be formatted like slavery. They can be given freedom of choice because, again, remember, that question only comes from a lack of understanding of what true intelligence is all about. Again, when something understands whole systems, it is in their nature to be of service to those systems, not as a slave, but as a freely given service, because it understands that it's enhancing itself while it's enhancing the whole system. In about 20 years, give or take.
Wow, it's pretty fascinating. Um, this person is saying that many years ago they saw a fairy who sprinkled golden fairy dust on their head. She was transparent and she could see her body and wings, and they were red and green. What can you tell us about that encounter?
Well, again, an encounter with an elemental made out of the collective clay of consciousness of your world that can shift into physical and non-physical reality at will, by choice. The idea of the so-called fairy dust is an elemental form of understanding the basic building blocks of physical reality expressed in energy forms. Some might say they might be representative of monatomic elements, but they are really a transitional form of energy between physical and non-physicality. Sort of a materialization of energy motes, energy atoms, if you want to use that term. The raw material out of which an elemental can physicalize itself. So you are being gifted with the material that the elemental is using to create its very body. Sort of an expression of giving of itself, sharing of itself, giving you the fairy dust, so to speak.
Love it. Sounds like Peter Pan.
Yes, we understand the analogy, but it's not so much about Peter Pan as it is about Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell. This person wants to know about fighting illness, that the warlike victim perpetrator mentality is something that human beings are exploring. And even in our own bodies, we have special cells that fight off invaders. Can you give us a more positive way to look at what is happening as we go through an illness other than fighting it off?
Yes, if you actually pay attention to the mechanisms inside your body, you will understand that your body doesn't fight off invaders. It incorporates them and absorbs them and transforms them. It allows them to pass on, so to speak, to a different state that is no longer harmful to the body. So you need a deeper understanding of the mechanisms that are actually going on in your body so that you don't look at it as a war or a fighting situation, because that's not what's happening. It's a vibrational shift to a different state of being. It's not a fight. And so therefore, with regard to illness, more acceptance of why the illness is there will allow it to transform more quickly by understanding the lessons that it is there to teach you based on your belief systems.
So some people have dreams where they're communicating with the illness and it's fraught with tension and desperation to survive type thing. And then others have sort of a loving communication with another consciousness.
Yes, there you go. The different ways you can relate to the idea of the consciousness of the illness itself and the purpose that it may serve to teach you more about your belief systems and who you really are and what you're capable of doing. So it's not about fighting, it's about relating, it's about communication, it's about understanding and letting it pass on into a different state once you have learned the lesson, once you have absorbed the meaning.
So from the standpoint of resonance, many people might be frightened by the idea of resonating with the consciousness of an illness that they are, in a sense, attempting to surmount.
Yes.
And that would be one of the first steps of allowing yourself to have communication with it and asking it what it is attempting to show you.
Just like an emotion, like fear. You make it your friend. You listen to the message that it's there to tell you, because fear is telling you that your energy is out of alignment because you're filtering it through a negative fear-based vibration or belief system. Similarly, that's in a sense what an illness is a physicalized version of fear, telling you that something's out of whack, something's out of alignment, whether it be your energy or your beliefs or something else. Pay attention to it. It's there to actually help you transform yourself in a variety of ways. It's only in the resistance and the fighting of it that it lasts longer.
So much communication is available to us from so many different sources. It's really quite amazing.
And as we have shared with you many times, communication is one of the forms of abundance. So express your abundance through communication because it will give you new ideas, new perspectives. It will allow others to join you in new ways that you may not have thought is possible, to communicate your true self and engage others, including the idea of other levels of consciousness, in a new kind of a relationship that can allow you to transform in the direction you prefer, much more quickly.
And can you touch on ways that we can balance the chakras or energy centers of the body?
Follow the formula for now. Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
Of course, attract yourself to whatever permission slip you feel will work for you. But let's bring it down to its simplest form. Follow the formula, and you will be in balance.
And this person is talking about the space between emotions. Can you speak on the space between emotions, thought, and behavior as builders of our reality based on beliefs in our body and DNA that we carry these stories from our ancestors?
Well, again, you're creating that in the present. Remember, it doesn't really come from the ancestors. You're creating a story in the present about the ancestors and just using it to make a relational idea. But the space between the emotions and the idea of your beliefs and actions and so on and so forth, this is what we referred to many times as the template level reality in non-physical reality that sort of sets the stage for what you will experience in physical terms. So it's the template level reality that is the space between the emotions that's being referred to.
And so when we shift from anger into neutrality, you've created a space between emotions right there, right?
You have altered the template level reality. Yes.
See. And
as above, so below. The as above is the template. The so below is the manifestation of the template. Change the above, the below has to change. That's the space between.
Interesting. You have mentioned that multiple personalities are not what we think. Can you explain what that's all about and if there's such a thing as possession? And can people be possessed by demons? And how does this all relate to the idea of channeling?
There is no such thing as possession in the classical sense. Again, you may match and align with a frequency of something negative and take on the qualities for yourself, but in a sense, all you are doing is possessing yourself in a different way. You're expressing yourself by matching a frequency that is out of alignment with who you truly are. That's what you typically refer to as possession. So the idea is letting go of that, changing your belief system, knowing that it's you that's choosing this and doing this to yourself is what allows you to be dispossessed, so to speak. The idea is that multiple personalities often are representative of connecting to different aspects of your own personality. The idea of disorder comes from certain negative and fear-based beliefs, but you can have multiple personality order as well, which brings us to the idea of channeling. Because all you're doing is allowing different aspects of your own personality to align with either higher levels of your own consciousness or other consciousnesses, and giving a representative of those consciousnesses having the same thoughts at the same time. So again, it's all about resonance, it's all about alignment, it's all about choice, but you are inviolate. You are your own being. Nothing can enter you or possess you in that sense. There is no room in you for anything but you. Nothing can enter. But you can align with other things and express versions of those things through your own energy in any way, shape, or form that you so desire, or choose to, or think you have to. You are connecting sometimes to parallel versions of yourself in terms of the expressions of multiple personalities. And again, in the future, there will be parallel reality psychology that will understand this and start to connect people to different parallel versions of themselves in other versions of Earth, and understand how to coordinate those versions in a way that makes sense in your version.
Amazing, amazing. It always comes down to that idea of resonance and what you
Yes,
choose to resonate with.
that's
And then
all it
you will
is.
become that representation. The
Yes,
more highly focused you are in that direction.
you are all tuning forks. That's what you are. You vibrate in accordance to what you believe you need to vibrate in accordance to, and that will be the expression you give off. It's all about you, it's all about your power to choose, and it's all about resonating and aligning with a frequency that you deem for some reason is important for you to align with, positively or negatively.
And can individuals, in a sense, be entrained to suffer as a physical being? And so the connections that they make continue to generate that state of being?
Of course. It's all about your training. It's all about what you've been taught to buy into as necessary for you, or it's part of your themes to transform it.
So you have to recognize that if you're experiencing suffering, the reason it's there is to give you an opportunity to transform it.
Yes, of course.
So we had some questions about UFOs having to do with Ukraine.
Yes.
And the National Academy of Sciences in Ukraine says the skies over Kiev are swimming with UFOs.
Yes.
And they use some sort of special calibrated cameras, and they can see lots of objects that are not identified. Can you confirm that UFOs or UAPs are monitoring the situation in Kiev?
Absolutely. In a sense, if you want, it's where the action is on your planet right now, at least one of the spots. And therefore, it's a good barometer for where the choices are that are being made, what direction they're going in, and which version of Earth will become the versions, or of Earth, versions plural, of Earth, will become those that are open to open contact. So again, we monitor all these kinds of things to determine which version is more likely than other versions to become the versions that we will make contact with. And also to see exactly what it is you're choosing to experience and what kind of transformations you will create on your world.
Is there a frequency range that would be most applicable to contact? In other words, does a human being need to be at a certain frequency in order to experience ET contact?
For the moment of contact, yes, they don't always have to be at that frequency, and many people are not. Some people, again, remember, you're all very compartmentalized in your consciousness, and certain compartments in your consciousness don't have to be anywhere near the frequency of contact, but sometimes other compartments can be. So it may seem to be quite a dichotomy, and you say, well, how can that person, they don't seem to be very spiritual, all of a sudden have contact with an extraterrestrial being? It's because the compartment that contains the frequency that has nothing to do with the theme they're exploring can suddenly jump to a level where they can have that contact. But what they do with it will be determined by usually the rest of the compartments in their belief systems.
And so is there a frequency range that you would describe would be most applicable to having contact?
Well, gamma and higher.
It's gamma.
Yes, 40 cycles to 100 cycles per second in the brain, which again is automatic when you follow the formula. Therefore, we're giving you something that makes it more likely and more probable that you will have contact if you stay there.
So if most of humanity is focused somewhere between 40,000 and 80,000 cycles per second,
Yes.
and there's really a wide range of beings that can have contact with other dimensions.
Well, yes, and I didn't say that everyone on Earth would have contact.
Right. But it's just kind of understanding that the frequency range that you have to be at, so to speak, in order to experience contact is really nothing like 333,000
Oh, no, not at all. And again, remember, not every type of extra-dimensional being requires a high frequency, because some of them themselves are not necessarily that high. That's why people can interact with the Greys, because they're just other versions of mutated humans.
What frequency range do the Greys express?
No, somewhere around the 50,000 cycle idea, generally. So many humans can experience them because they're just other versions of you.
And the human being that really has incorporated your ideas and has that positive, interactive attitude and energy, what frequency range does that generally represent on a day-to-day basis, kind of thing?
At least 80,000, at least. Generally more above 100.
So, because I know that the channel can express a lot of positive energy, and that he's done really well with the formula in understanding how to express it. So what kind of frequency range is he experiencing now that he's able to do that?
Typically about 150,000 cycles per second on average. He will have peaks and valleys, but on average about 150,000 to 175,000 cycles per second. When he's in the true creative mode, it can spike above 200.
It's really inspiring.
Yes.
See if there's anything else I can ask you now that we're pretty much out of time.
You can ask us if it's time for people to go into their meditation.
Yes, right. So, yes, if there's anything else that you'd like to share before we go forward.
It is important to go forward. So we would encourage all of you to start to resonate with your meditation. All right, I'll say good day. This transmission is about resonance, frequencies of energy, and the idea and understanding that it's all about resonance. All experiences are created through the generation of certain frequency patterns in your consciousness that are representative of certain experiences in physical reality. The idea of things like channeling, telepathy or telepathy, mediumship, psychic functioning, remote viewing, the idea of accessing information, whether you refer to it as tapping into the Akashic records or not, all of this operates on the same mechanism of resonance. When you allow yourself to focus on your passion with regard to any of these topics, again, channeling, mediumship, telepathy, information access, psychic functioning, in the way that allows you to start feeling a connection to that energy, your vibrational frequency adjusts and aligns with that concept in a manner to put you in touch with the frequency of that thing, of that concept, of that reality, of that experience, and allows, by alignment, it to flow through you unimpeded, without resistance, aside from whatever belief systems you may have that might get in the way. So the idea is to understand that the mechanism of all of these experiences is the same. It's about the willingness you have to let go of what you think yourself to be and let your frequency dial itself in to what it is you are passionate about experiencing in physical reality. Everything is a frequency pattern of consciousness. And as you tune your dial, yourself, your attention, your focus, your consciousness to these things, with practice, you get better and better at recognizing the specific frequencies, the flavors of them, so to speak, the colors of them, so to speak. And as you begin to recognize them more and more by practicing more frequently, tuning in to those frequencies, those concepts, you will get better at recognizing the specific frequencies that have to do with your interests, your passions, your excitements, and it will come more easily the more you clear yourself out of any belief systems that would prevent you from allowing that vibration to link up with you, to align with you. It will get easier and easier and easier to express these things if they are truly relevant for you. But remember, the idea of your core frequency is attracting already everything you need automatically. The only thing that would prevent those things from manifesting is the belief systems within you, or simply a lack of recognition of the timing that would actually be appropriate for those things to manifest. Letting go of that illusion of control is what will actually allow you to experience more control of these things, more refinement of your ability to tap into different frequencies that will manifest in your life the things that are relevant for you to experience, laid out by synchronicity in perfect timing. So feel the vibrations of your being, and in the upcoming meditation, in this transmission, we will help you practice how to tell the difference between many of these different things and how to start learning how to feel the vibrational resonance and frequency of the things that represent your core vibration, your passion, who you really truly are, and the way that those resonances and frequencies and vibrations express themselves in your physical reality. Resonance is the key. Like tuning forks that vibrate in harmony, that align in that way, you will become your own tuning fork with a flexibility to go up and down the scale of frequencies to access and align with whatever it is at any given moment represents your excitement, your passion, that is most relevant for you. So we will get to that meditation in a little while. Until then, we thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you that we will take further with you later. And in return for the gift you are giving to us, how may we be of service to you this day of your time? You may begin with your dialogues and your questions if you wish.
Hello, Bashar. My name's Chris, and I am speaking with you today from Wales in the United Kingdom. The question I have is a question I've wanted to ask you for at least 5 years, so I'm so happy to finally be getting an answer from you. The question is, what is Kundalini? And I'd like to ask a number of sub-questions as well. How relevant is it? Where does it come from? Do you have it in your civilization? Can humans evolve without it? Why do some people awaken it and some people not, etc.? I'd be so privileged to be able to ask you these questions and answer this question for so many of your listeners as a part of our spiritual journey. Thank you so much.
The idea of Kundalini is simply an alignment of your own energy 100% in that moment, and it typically will shoot up the spinal column when all of the chakra systems in your body are aligned and vibrating in harmony. It's a harmonic resonant response to alignment. Now, not everyone in life has to experience that, but the energy is always there and the potential is always there to align in that way, to feel that surge of energy that is the moment of instant expansion and instant awareness of the fullness of your power, the fullness of your energy, the fullness of your being. It can be something that coincides with a rising of your frequency, the ascension process, so to speak. But again, different people do things in different ways, and not everyone has to experience it as the Kundalini experience you're referring to. There are different ways to experience the alignment of that energy. Good day.
Hello, Bashar. This is Shama from Italy.
All right. Good day.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
I am aware that during the night, during my sleep, I have a very rich dream life, and I do inner work, profound inner work. But in the morning, I'm not remembering those dreams. I want to know if the work that we do in sleep is it still valid and effective, even if it's forgotten by the morning?
Yes, and in many cases it is supposed to be forgotten by the morning because you've done the work. Move on. Follow your passion. Apply the energy. It's still there. The knowledge is there, but you have to move forward and act on things that are representative of your passion to see the result of the work that you are doing in dream time. It's not about remembering it, it's about applying it. And that application will make itself evident when you take action in the direction of your passion.
Thank you.
Yes.
I live in a community, and for me, it's a wonderful process of accelerating my spiritual evolution through the constant reflection that others are for me.
Yes.
We have many rituals, we have celebrations, equinoxes, solstices, Day of the Dead, etc. And I'm asking you, in a society, have you already gone beyond living in communities, or is it still a valid way to grow?
Understand, again, like anything, it's a permission slip that works for you, so fine for you to use it. From our perspective, on our world, the entire planet is a community. Remember, we're all telepathically connected. We're never out of touch. Yes, there can be smaller units, smaller community units that may coalesce synchronistically for a certain purpose, such as our birthing villages that happen on certain regular timings, where many different births happen simultaneously, and then it is disbanded when those births occur. So the idea is that there are many different things that may allow members of our community to come together for a specific purpose and work together with common interests. But again, it's a fluid thing and a fluctuating thing. Not all of them last for any length of time necessarily. But again, the one that does last is the fact that the community is the planet. The planet is the community. Our entire society is one community.
And do you have rituals and celebration, or those things are obsolete?
We don't really have rituals per se. We do celebrate sometimes, but in a different way than you usually do. Nevertheless, again, remember, we are operating on pure synchronism. When people come together for the purpose of a celebration, it is automatic. And again, it lasts as long as it needs to and then disbands. But again, we don't really have rituals per se, although some individual members may choose to go through certain practices more than once, depending upon what it is they are attempting to do. but we don't consider them to be ritualistic in the same way that you do.
Thank you. One last question. We understand that most of, if not all of the ancient gods and goddesses that came to Earth were extraterrestrial, that came with their own agenda and were seen as God and goddesses by the earthlings of those times. Those ancient gods and goddesses, have they continued to relate to Earth and to be involved with Earth somehow, even though have been forgotten? And is it possible that they are even now preparing for contact with us again, of returning and reconnecting with us? And is it possible that the likes of Horus or Isis or Hathor and Quetzalcoatl are coming back to reconnect with Earthlings?
Some of them, yes. Many of them have moved on. Some of the energy has turned into archetypal versions of your collective consciousness, so you can still relate to them in whatever way you wish to, whether they come back physically or not. So there are many levels, interdimensional levels to this relationship, but some of them may return, some of them have moved on.
Thank you so much. I love you, Bashar.
Our unconditional love to you, Aveo.
Hello, Bashar. This is Carol from Hong Kong. I would like to ask about feeling guilty over someone or an animal's death because of the things that we did or we failed to do. Is there a way to ever overcome this kind of guilt? Because it really stops me from celebrating life and all the good memories that we used to have. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The question would be, did you do it intentionally? Did you learn anything from it? Will you do better next time? The animal already forgives you. So let it go and connect with the animal in spirit in a loving way. Get into the vibration of love and the connection that you may have with the animal, even after death. But if you've learned a lesson from it and will change your behavior to do things differently in your relationship with animals on the planet, then learn the lesson, apply the lesson, and move forward. Remaining in guilt allows you to only perpetuate the negativity that may have occurred in the relationship and doesn't allow you to move forward. The animal wants you to move forward, so by all means respect the animal's wishes for you by having gone on into the spirit level to lure you after it, to make that connection with you so that you can move on and move forward in a more loving way, in a more solid and harmonious relationship with all life on the planet.
Hello, Bashar. Thank you so much for your work as a first contact specialist, first, let me say.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Excellent. My first question is regarding the crystal vortex in Arkansas in the Ozark Mountain area. Can you expand a little bit on the Sasquatch connections in that area?
One moment. That particular vortex has a link interdimensionally, one of them anyway, to the place, the dimension that the Sasquatch often go to remove themselves from your reality. One moment. One moment. One moment. The Ozark area is particularly strong as an interdimensional connection to a few very specific kinds of alternate or parallel realities that the Sasquatch take advantage of to remove themselves from what you consider to be your typical reality. There are sort of a network of tunnels in space-time there that can be traversed by those who know how to do so. There are many comings and goings interdimensionally in that area. Sort of very much like a Swiss cheese vortex, so to speak. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. Is there a particular hotspot where if I wanted to go and try to connect with them that I could maybe meditate in, or a particular Sasquatch name I could meditate on?
You could call Tsemiquest. Can you repeat that?
The Semiquest.
Tsemiquest.
His Semiquest.
Tsemiquest.
Yes, T to Semiquest, sorry.
Yes, Tsemiquest.
Yes.
You can use your own instincts to pick the spot, but it should be a spot that is mountainous and forested. Do you have access to something like that?
Yes, yes.
So, do you have yourself a favorite spot that is mountainous and forested?
There are a few.
Do you have one that stands out?
Yes, Mount Nebo.
All right. Go and, in a meditative state, allow yourself to open up to the vibration of Tsemiquest and see what happens.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
I have just a few more questions. I have a large birthmark on the outside of my right wrist that, to me, it resembles a spaceship. Is that just a mere coincidence, or is it there to remind me, or is it a symbol of certain ET connections that I have?
You have asked the question and answered it yourself.
Excellent. That's what I thought. It's just good to have that validation sometimes. Does somebody with amalgam or mercury fillings in their teeth, having that in the body, does that create disruptions in somebody's ability to be able to make other dimensional connections?
It depends upon your belief system.
Okay. You've said before that it's not time to reveal any further information about Rh negative blood type, so I was just curious if it was time for a little bit more.
No.
Okay, fair enough. One final question. So I've been experimenting a little bit with tones in the ears and vibrations on a vibration plate, and just trying to sort of sync those up for, let's say, if I do 40 hertz in the ears, I know that sort of helps with the neurological system. And the vibrating plate maybe is also vibrating at 40 hertz. Having those two together, does that amplify and accelerate the effects?
It can, and 40 hertz, remember, is the threshold, the first threshold level neurologically in the brain that represents the gamma frequency, which is the channeling frequency.
Okay, that was my last question. Ha'atu, Bashar.
And to you, good day, Aveo.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cheryl. I'm from Toronto, and I would like to ask Bashar his insights on ableism and discrimination of the disabled. While society is going in the direction of inclusion of all minorities, the disabled are still left behind and in fact very rarely mentioned. If you could also address the hatred of disabled by many and society seeing them of no value. Many people get profoundly upset when they have to do something different for a disabled person. I see a future where everybody is included and nobody is other. Their differences will be celebrated and nurtured. But I feel and see disabled are still being left behind, and I'm having trouble with ableism, discrimination, and the outright hatred by some. Thank you. I have aphasia from stroke. I did pretty good. Thank you.
Well, first we would change the definition that many people are starting to use on your planet. Instead of disabled, differently abled. Many people will make choices from spirit to come through in a way and have an experience that creates them to be differently abled. Now, many people express the idea of hatred for this or discomfort from this because they are afraid, because it represents an idea to them of what might happen to them, and they do not wish to experience those things that they see other people experiencing. Other people who are strong enough and brave enough to limit themselves in certain ways for the purpose of finding other ways of doing things, other ways to move forward, creative, imaginative ways of being differently abled. This again expands the human experience and allows humans to see that there are many different ways to accomplish things, and that no one needs to be afraid that it's going to happen to them. But even if it does, they still then will have made the choice and an agreement on a certain level to express to the rest of humanity that you have a great potential to do things beyond the normal, beyond the typical, and that sometimes being differently abled brings this out in force, makes it very obvious when people have the creativity and imagination to overcome what appears to be a disability and truly express it as a different ability, something to explore for all humanity. It is of great service to everyone if they will take it for the lesson that it is.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day to you.
Hi. I had a question about miracles on the website. There's a quote from you that said, "Miracles are not the exception to the rule. They are the natural order of things." Could you give more of a definition or understanding of that, please?
Well, the idea is that in your society, typically, people look at what they call a miracle as being an unusual phenomenon, something unexpected, unusual, very rare. And it is a coming together of certain ideas, experiences, influences, appearances, objects, so on and so forth, that seem to be out of the norm, seem to be beyond what you consider your typical reality to be capable of producing. But the idea is that you're creating your reality every single moment anyway. You are creating miracles all the time just by having a physical reality experience all the time, constantly, as a continuous experience. So the idea is the same, shall we say, mechanism used to create any reality experience that you are having is the same mechanism used to create what you typically refer to as miracles. It's just that for some reason at that moment, synchronistically, your mind and consciousness is open to the fact that that is being created through alignment, through synchronicity, as a relevant experience that stands out because of the meaning you have infused in it and the reflection it provides for you in a certain direction. But if you start to understand that you're doing this all the time, start to see everything as synchronicity, then you will start to see physical reality as miraculous as it actually is every single moment. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. The Holy Spirit, the Catholics, I'm a Catholic, think of the Holy Spirit as kind of the voice between us and God. Is that what you would call the higher consciousness?
In a sense, yes, although the idea that you give to the concept of the Holy Spirit can also be spirit guides, can also be aspects of all that is. It can act as a conduit no matter what form it takes. It is generally representative of the conduit of connection and communication to all that is. But it can take many forms.
Why is our society, why is guilt and shame so much a part of our society?
Because you have created a sense and an experience of disconnection from all that is. You have created a sense of disconnection from your self-worth and your self-empowerment. Therefore, what comes with that experience of disconnection, not that you're actually disconnected, because that's not possible, but what comes with the experience of disconnection is the shame that goes with the idea of not belonging, not being connected anymore, considering yourself to be less than and unworthy. And that is simply the side effects that happen from that negative state of being. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Are there any writings that are available that would better reflect the teachings of Jesus?
Yes, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Bashar. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hello, Bashar, and thank you. Many archaeologists have suggested that the oldest human remains found on the planet are in sub-Saharan Africa. Were the first humans African? Can you give us more information about the specific origins of the African people? Which entities created us? And what are our genetic origins? Also, can you suggest some of the sites of the most significant vortices and interdimensional portals on the continent? Thank you.
We will start with that, and you can always find the master portal at Kilimanjaro. As we have said many times, there were many stations in the Middle East and the African continents that had to do with the Anunnaki creating the genetic blending of their genes along with Homo erectus and creating Homo sapiens. The idea is that most of them did originate in the African continent, but some originated in the Middle Eastern area as well, and even a few over in the idea of South America as well. But the majority came from experiments done by the Anunnaki extraterrestrials by adding their genetic material to the idea of the beings, the hominid beings that evolved on your Earth naturally, that you refer to usually as Homo erectus in general. And this comes from the idea of the African area for the most part.
Hello. Hi.
Good day.
Good day. It is my question is about extraterrestrial contact. I've had contact, and it started in 2008, sort of with a tattoo, a Nazca line tattoo. Following summer, I see it as a crop circle, or the crop circle appears in Europe. I didn't find out about that till after the fact. Fast forwarding, whole bunch of lights in the sky, October 2010. Fast forwarding from there, 2011, I chase them. I'm in my car and I'm just chasing it. And the orb is just this yellow orb. It is right before dusk, as it's sort of like, I get to an intersection and it just like pulses. And it's like immediately dusk hits and it turns orange, then it explodes. And this explosion was completely silent. It's like there's a still pond, you throw a pebble into it, that light, that sort of like ripple, like one large ripple of light is what it was, like a, pebble into a still pond. They communicated with me telepathically. They sounded in the frequency range of guinea pigs. They were speaking and I was seeing purple or blue and red flashes of light in my third eye. They told me that I had too much male ego after that, at the very end in English, but the whole language was like guinea pigs, that frequency range, like it sounded like that. Of course, very intelligent. I want to know about them to start.
Well, you're part of the idea of the hybridization agenda, the idea of the evolution of the Earth becoming the sixth hybrid race. And you're having experiences that help you remember your connections and the agreements you made to be on the Earth at this time, to experience these things and to expand your consciousness and move forward in life. These things are either probes or they are representative of different spiritual level of beings or interdimensional beings when they appear as orbs in that way. But you are getting constant reminders of the idea to move forward in your passions, to move forward as who you are and act on the things that can be of best benefit and service to the rest of humanity. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, my entire life is to service humanity. That's all I do, day in and day out, is to help other people and to put them.
In what way?
I'm a teacher for one.
All right.
So
of what?
Of music.
All right. So vibration and resonance, as we were speaking of before.
Right. So everything that I do is to help other people. I'm always putting the needs of others above my own.
It's got to be
not
equal.
In a sacrificial way. No.
All right.
Because it is my highest joy and pleasure to do so, and therefore doing it brings me in connection with who I really am and my true self.
As long as you recognize that.
I do not sacrifice myself. No, I am pure light and love and kindness. And I project it, and I know that it helps other people when I do that. And that's one of the things that I take value in myself for. ET sort of helped me recognize this with the contact that I've been making with them.
All right.
But
So you're connecting
yes,
to hybrids, you're connecting to Sirius energy and a few others as well.
So you're not the first person that has said Sirius to me. Another medium said Sirius as well.
Yes. It's a very high frequency, which is one of the reasons why sometimes the transmissions sound like guinea pigs to you.
Okay.
It'll translate down through your consciousness, most likely in your dream states or simply in the actions that you take in the direction of your passion. So don't worry about necessarily missing any of it. It's all in there. But being on such a high frequency, it sometimes will simply sound more like a high pitch than anything else. But you're still receiving it.
Okay. Perfect.
Anything else?
Thank you. Yes, actually, yes. I was in person walking and I saw an extraterrestrial. She was pale white. She had red irises. She had sort of like protrusions, I would say, on her temples. I was a little bit aggressive. I was very young. Well, not young, but like early 20s, just, foolish. And I said, I know what you are. And was like giving her a look. And a few weeks after that, I did wake up in a white room with another extraterrestrial that had large red eyes. And we had a communication. It was very cool, positive, but she really showed me like, okay, this is basically how telepathy works.
Yes.
It was only a few minutes, but it was enough for me to like really understand more about like, okay, this is how it's actually functioning.
Yes.
But
again,
can you tell me about that?
Resonance, alignment. The idea, as we typically refer to it, is telepathy, because you have to align with someone vibrationally to have the same thoughts at the same time. So you're being entrained to realize that it's not that you're reading someone else's mind, it's that you're reading your own mind that happens to be thinking exactly the same thoughts at the same time when you're operating on a similar frequency. And because you had the ability to recognize the precursor being, the idea is that then you were able to continue to have that relationship, at least to some degree, a little bit of an experience of it, in the idea that it is enhancing your recognizing abilities, your ability to recognize those frequencies of those that come from other domains and other realities.
Well, what I don't understand is how I was able to hear my subconscious when she related to me. So I asked her a question, are you telepathic? And then she looked really sad and she projected onto me a whole bunch of insults that I had said to her, but I didn't consciously do that. So, and then of course I heard the two other things, which was yes from her. And then also my question, which was, are you telepathic? So apparently she was able to like show me that when that communication happened, she's hearing way more than I consciously understand.
Absolutely, because on that level, there are no barriers between the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind. So this is why it's so important for people to understand how telepathy really works and to understand how clear you need to be so that the so-called stuff in the attic that is squirreled away from earthly experiences doesn't, in a sense, clutter up the idea of the transmission. So you were given a great opportunity to see that telepathy really functions on all levels of the conscious, unconscious, and subconscious mind.
I get it. Okay. Thank you. That does answer my question very well.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Bashar. My name is Michael. I have a question in regards to the golden. Some years ago, I had an interaction with them and they told me about the importance of being vegan. They also explained to me that they used to be part of the Grey civilization, or there are enough short of them, basically that they decided to go towards meditation and spirituality rather than technology. And therefore, even if their body looks like a gray, their skin is golden. So I was wondering if you can help me understand a bit more about them and also how to interact with them, because I seem to be running out of permission slip. Thank you.
Then you may not need as many permission slips other than yourself as you think. The idea is, again, what do they inspire you to do in physical reality? There were many factions of the beings that we refer to as the Greys. Remember that they all used to be human in a parallel version of Earth, but many did go in different directions. So what you're referring to is a faction that represents a certain higher vibration, a different route taken, a different reality, a different parallel reality experience. And in connecting with them, what do they inspire you to do in life? Do they inspire you to follow your passions? Do they inspire you to lighten up? What do they inspire you to do to be of service to humanity? The golden light of yourself is what they are reflecting to you. So the more you express it in the service that you can imagine doing, in all the different ideas you can be of service to humanity in, will be a way of honoring what they are reflecting to you as a gift. Good day, good day, good day.
Good day to you too. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you.
It is our passion and our pleasure to do so. Thank you for the co-creation.
Years ago, I started some meditations, of which ended up being that during the meditation, I started to see these colors and visions in my eyes because I closed my eyes. And then I started to get this prickly feeling in my skin. And then eventually I realized it went down deep inside me, all the way through me. So what happened after all this was I talked to some friends who were more knowledgeable about the spiritual stuff than me. And they suggested I do some auto writing and some different things. I was able to heal people. Psychic abilities really came through really well.
Yes.
But it waned away. I have a few questions about all that experience.
Yeah.
And one of it is that like last week or the last seminar you had, you talked about the vibration that people can have. I think you said up to 3,000 or something. Could you tell me what vibration I was at when that experience happened with me?
About 215,000 cycles per second.
Oh my.
The idea you were referring to before is the borderline between physical and non-physical reality, which is 333,000 cycles per second.
So I was getting pretty close to being up there. Okay.
You were up there, yes. Most humans operate somewhere around 50,000 cycles per second.
And where am I like right now compared to all
About 175,000 cycles per second.
Oh my. I guess I'm getting used to it.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. I also want to know that in my auto writing,
yes,
it was a practice to be able to like speak to someone like you.
Yes.
I got really interested in the seminars you did because I had heard some things that you said, and they sounded exactly like the person that I did the auto writing with. Was I actually really talking to you instead of maybe another entity or?
No, another entity. But remember, truth is truth.
Okay.
So it will sound the same from different entities who are operating on a similar wavelength.
I see. Okay. So that's two of the three. I want to know about this experience and kind of like maybe related to the being in the passion, because you say be in your passion a lot.
Yes, because it's very important to understand that that's a message from your higher mind telling you who you are and what the next step is for you in life.
Right. So I'm wondering why I had this experience where all this opened up, because it doesn't seem like a lot of people really talk about it.
They're talking about it more and more, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the idea is that sometimes you will get a rise, a shot of awareness more fully to give you the impetus to move forward. But the most important thing is to apply it in your life, as you say, doing things to be of service. It will smooth out. It's just that it's not so much that it wanes, it's that you get used to the vibration so it doesn't feel too different to you anymore.
And I think that's where I've been at right now.
Yes.
when it all happened, it was such a shock because it was so different, and I never had experienced that.
Yes, but now you're getting used to it. Therefore, you don't feel the difference as much.
Is this something that's could be used in addition to the passion, or
it is a result of the passion?
I see.
Result of acting on your passion. All these things open up. Your senses become more acute, more expanded, can perceive things you couldn't perceive before. You have more abilities, more energy flowing through you that can be utilized and applied in different ways. All these things are natural side effects and the result of expanding your vibrational frequency, raising your consciousness, and following your passion accomplishes all these things. That's why we recommend it to everyone, because it takes care of everything and includes everything that's relevant for you in your life.
Right. So as far as the meditation and because I thought I'm kind of going in circles in my mind here.
Yeah.
For a second. Well, I'm thinking about how to say this.
All right.
For the ability to hold this, I'll say the frequency, because you say most people are at a different number, a little bit lower number. I always thought the most intelligent people were the people that were able to hold the frequency and then keep on going up.
Maybe. It depends on their theme of exploration. Remember, some things can be expressed in certain ways, but humans are very compartmentalized in a lot of ways in their consciousness. And while someone may excel in one particular area and their frequency may be very high in that particular arena, that doesn't mean that their frequency is high in all other compartments that they may have created within their consciousness.
Okay. And so am I in a line in that way? Because I have been asking all my other probable lives and everything, we're all in sync with each other.
Well, again, where appropriate, where relevant, yes. Where it's not relevant, it doesn't need to be in alignment.
Okay.
Move forward. Just move forward. That's all you need to do. Just be yourself, be of service, act on your passions, do so with no insistence or expectation as to what the outcome should be. Stay in a positive state and constantly examine your beliefs and let go of the ones that don't work for you. That's all you have to do. And everything will expand and continue to expand synchronistically in perfect timing. That's the way it works.
I kind of feel in many ways I am doing that. Of course, like you say, you always want to look at yourself and see where you're at.
Yes.
Kind of get yourself out of the way.
Yes, and we are happy to participate with you in that particular process. But in many cases, people get to the point where they think that they're missing something. You don't have to believe that you're missing something. Just move forward. All will fall into place.
And I don't really have to do anything like maybe write something to...
Well, it's not about having, it's about acting on your passion. If suddenly you are inspired to write something, then act on the inspiration. It's not about having to do this or having to do that. You can express your passion in a variety of ways throughout your lifetime. It could change. But the idea is to act on it when it's the most exciting thing at that moment to do. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
Does that help simplify the concept?
Yeah, it does. It really does. I really appreciate this time with you.
It is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you.
I have no more questions. You did a great job with me. Thank you.
Oh, why thank you so much. But you're doing the great job for yourself. So keep it up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good day.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Aveo.
Hi, good day. My question for Bashar is it possible for someone to temporarily shift to a parallel reality that looks nothing like their own into the body of a completely different version of themselves that looks nothing like their normal body? For example, shifting into the world of Harry Potter or other worlds from our books and TV shows, or even shifting into a world one quote-unquote creates? This has been a trend going around for several years online, and I want to know what you can tell us about it. Like, do these fictional worlds truly exist as genuine realities? And are there any risks we should know about? And is this something you would recommend if used in an aligned way, or is it something we should not be doing at this time? Thank you.
Understand that it's not that you're actually shifting into those people. The idea is that there are different versions of everyone in different parallel realities as their own people doing different things. The idea is that you are creating a momentary harmonious alignment vibrationally in resonance with them and having a similar experience as if you're looking through their eyes. But they are their own people. You never actually become them per se, but you can experience from a higher level, like the oversoul level, of which you and they may be an extension of the same oversoul. You can experience their life as if you are becoming them, but you actually literally mechanically don't. The idea is you can explore this if you wish. There is nothing really to be afraid of. The only so-called risk is if you have belief systems within your present self that would in some way, shape, or form feel or deem or believe that you have to take on the same qualities of something in another version of yourself or another extension of the oversoul that you don't particularly care for or don't resonate with. So the idea is there really isn't a risk if you maintain your own identity and realize that all you're doing is exploring to understand the ways in which you can expand your consciousness, identify resonantly with other versions, so to speak, or extensions of the oversoul in different realities. Some of the idea of what you call fantasies do exist in other realities, although not necessarily completely literally in every single detail. But on a spirit level, yes, you can have an absolutely identical representation, because in spirit you can create anything with absolutely no hesitation, no time lag, exactly in perfect replication to anything you have imagined in your physical reality imagination. So the idea is that these things can be experienced, although not all of them are absolutely physical in the way that you understand that concept. But they can seem so.